let's get it going. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go! Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. It is 10 p.m. Thursday evening, and we are here live on Studio A. Yeah, you've waited all week for the most cutting-edge topics and guests, and now it is time to deliver. That's right, it's the Stephen D. Kelley Show with your host, Stephen D. Kelley.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Stephen D. Kelley Show. I'm your host, Stephen D. Kelley. It is Thursday, 7 p.m. here in California, 10 p.m. on the East Coast. We are continuing with our expose of the gun-running, drug smuggling operations perpetrated by our government as a matter of foreign policy. I have with me right now Tosh Plumlee, who's been with me for 3 shows now. This is your 3rd show, huh, Tosh?
That's right.
That's right. Well, and I'm expecting to have the DEA guys back on tonight, but we know that Hector is not going to make it. Phil and Cele should be here soon, but we just talked to Phil and he's on the road. But anyway, we hopefully we will get them in here very soon. We're going to pick up where we left off last week, but what we want to try to do tonight is we would like to try to organize the information a little bit better. We would like to try to go back and explain a little bit about some of the names and some of the organizations that we mentioned. I know that we kind of took it for granted that everybody would understand who we were talking about, and I think so tonight we'll probably be discussing a lot of the same things, but we'll do what we can to organize the information and create a timeline and explain who these players are. And anyway, Sean, my producer, is still working on trying to get Hector and Celerino and Phil in here, the 2 DEA guys, but they should be here soon. I think that's him on the phone right now. I want to remind everybody that we are listener-supported radio. Revolution Radio is the #1 non-corporate controlled radio station user content out there, and that is because of you, the listener.
Okay, Skype number.
Oh, wait a minute, Bill, you gotta mute. I'm hearing you talk here. Anyway, again, we do depend on your donations. We have a site support button on our homepage.
207.
Oh boy, I got to get these guys to learn how to mute their microphones when they're not on. Bill, you probably don't even hear me. Anyway, all right, okay. I also want to remind everybody to go to our Facebook page.
Okay, I'll give it to them. We're on the air now.
Yeah, Bill, you're on the air. We hear everything you're saying.
Okay, I'm talking to Phil right now. He's got a new Skype number here. Does Sean want to get me to give it to him on the air here?
Well, Sean, why don't Bill type it in the little post, the box.
Okay, hold on a minute.
And try to kind of wait for me to introduce you before you got to mute your microphone. You got to learn how to use that little microphone mute button there. You guys, I swear. Anyway, we had a lot of fun last week with these guys talking through the break. They didn't know how to turn off their microphones, but anyway, things we do here on live radio. Okay. Again, we do depend on your support. We have a Facebook page we'd like you to go to. I have my own Facebook page I'd like you to go to. It's very easy to find. Just do a search for Stephen D. Kelley. Also, I have my email is law17gun@AOL.com, law17gun, G-U-N, at AOL.com, and that's in case you need to contact me for any questions, you want to buy a book, whatever. That's how you get a hold of me. All right. Now, all right, Tosh, are you still on the phone trying to get a hold of?
No, I'm off now. I sent the information to Sean, your producer there, so we should. And Phil said he had to stop at a Kinko's or something, but he's on his way home. He got tied up in some traffic.
All right, so, well, no problem there.
Sally, I haven't talked to yet, so we'll see. No big deal. If they make it, they make it. If they don't, we'll just wing it.
Either way, we're going to have a good show. But the thing is, I want to kind of explain a few things here before we get going, and that is that a few people came back and wanted proof. They didn't believe that there was enough proof. Now, Tosh, I know he's gone through this quite a bit with people kind of questioning some of the things he says, And yet he has actual documentation from his interaction with these various politicians and government agencies to support everything he says. The other thing that was kind of bothered me a little bit was we had these three DEA, which is Drug Enforcement Administration. For those of you that are not in the U.S. and aren't familiar with that agency, these are the guys that are responsible for fighting the so-called war on drugs here in the United States and interdicting smuggling and what have you. So clearly these guys were concerned and perplexed by the fact that the U.S. government, or through the CIA or NSA or NSC, as William calls it, were actually moving massive amounts of drugs into the country as they were moving massive amounts of weapons out of the country. And again, there were a couple of people out there, maybe one individual in particular, who basically thought that this was hearsay, required proof, photos, images, movies, whatever. And all I really have to say to that is that these men that we had on last week, these DEA agents, are police officers. They are law enforcement officers. They are trained to give this information in a certain way, and they are also trained to not get involved in hearsay and speculation. They are only basically representing information that they are witness to, and as such, their verbal description of the events can be taken as a de facto a fact, and this is it's like taking a deposition. As far as people like that are concerned, when these guys are giving information, you've got to give it a lot of credibility, because these are trained professionals who are trained to basically represent the facts as they have observed these facts, and this is expert testimony. So to suggest that these professionals, these law enforcement professionals, are somehow repeating hearsay or stories and innuendo is completely ridiculous. So, and at the same time, it needs to be understood also that as law enforcement professionals, the way they give the information is very matter of fact. It may come off as kind of dry, but that is the nature of it. So we're very happy to have them here, but at the same time, people need to understand that when you have people giving this sort of information with those kind of credentials, it really does not require secondary documentation. So people that would think that they're somehow not credible have a serious lack of understanding when it comes to the nature of credibility. Anyway, okay, Bill, what am I leaving out here? What do we need to talk about that we forgot to talk about?
Am I on now?
You're on now. Yeah,
okay, great. All right, make sure my little button was on. Okay, yeah, follow up on what you said. In fact, just a few hours ago on the Facebook page, I knew this was going to come up. Mm-hmm. I posted a Gary Hart document. I posted the Class 2 DEA documents, which pertain to the gun running that was going through Mexico, the training at Carl Quintero's ranch. And all the documents, that support what we were talking about, the last interviews that we did. Also posted the map of, the interdiction flyway routes coming from Central America, the documentation that supports the Santa Elena, secret air base, that was set up in violation of the Bolin Amendment, to fund and supply the Contra with guns and weapons that came from our stockpiles. All right. People always attack me, and they say, well, you talk a lot about this, and you say this, and you make allegations, but where's your paperwork? Where's your background? Well, these people that do this, some of them are even hired to do this, to plant the seed of doubt, rather than go out and actually look for themselves, because these documents that I'm making reference to that supports Hector Berrellez's information and Phil Jordan's information, and especially Cele Castillo's information. Now, the background on these guys is impeccable. These guys were, law enforcement. They all three were DEA. how we all came together was that we each had a piece or part of the story of the gun running going to the south and the drugs coming back. In Hector's case, he was the chief lead investigator on the Kiki Camarena, DEA agent Kiki Camarena, that worked Guadalajara, Mexico, that was kidnapped and tortured for 3 days, and he and his pilot was also murdered. So when we talk about things like that, we have a tendency to get into the weeds of things, and people don't know what we're talking about. So therefore, that's the reason for posting these documents. Now, if anybody goes on the Facebook page, I'm on there now, and I'm looking at this, they can see the Gary Hart letter talks about the training Guatemalan guerrillas at a drug lord's ranch by the name of Carl Quintero. Carl Quintero was receiving $21,000 a month to use his facilities, runways, which we were setting up beacons down there, but was using his runways so that we could refuel and get the weapons down to the Contra. In order to fund the black operation in the Contra, cocaine was coming back into this country and being sold in order to purchase the weapons as cutouts for Reagan's freedom fighters that was operating in Nicaragua, and also the secret air base at Santa Elena, Costa Rica, known as Point North, as found in Oliver North's notebooks. So when I start rattling like this, then people say, well, where's your documentation? I mean, you're making a lot of allegations here about the federal government. They did this, they did that. So, okay, I said, all right, I'll post them. Now, years ago, I posted the Class 2 DEA documents, which was written by Hector Berrellez, and posted that. Now, I got in trouble years ago for posting that because at the time it was a classified document. I think portions of that document are still classified today. However, if they want to jump me for posting it, I just have to apologize. I made a mistake. So anyway, it's out there. So the reason that I'm talking like this is I just got an email earlier from an individual who says, well, Tosh, you make a lot of allegations there, but I don't see any documentation to back it up. Well, to that individual, that was mainly because he didn't go look. Yeah, right. I've been posting this stuff since September, putting it all together for the sole purpose of educating a younger generation, because this is not taught in school. I've been labeling it on the Facebook page as History 101. I'm getting tremendous response back from a younger generation that says, how come we don't know this? Well, there's gatekeepers in mainstream media. There's gatekeepers in the colleges, the professors, and so on like that this information is never supposed to see the light of day, especially to a younger generation. If this younger generation would actually go and look at these documents and take the time to do their own research, then they would have enough education to go to the polls and get these crooks out of office. Us old people can't do that. We're too set in our ways. We're too damned ignorant about what the younger generation is going through. We're too ignorant for what we cause this younger generation to go through. They will never get out of debt. We have made our mistakes. We've elected people that are incompetent, that are not qualified. They're cronies. They're gatekeepers. They have an agenda that is certainly not upholding the oath to protect the Constitution, including the President of the United States at this point in time and other presidents of the United States. So basically there's an operation, there's another world out there that the 8 to 5 can't comprehend that even exists. So that's the reason some of us guys that have come on and started putting this information out so that we can at least educate the people and say, hey, wait a minute, they're lying to us. They did this. I was involved. I personally, hand-on, was involved in this. And so why didn't you come out earlier and talk about this? I noticed one of your questions last week that was asked. Why didn't you guys know when you were in an illegal operation, why didn't you go out and report it? Well, we did, hence the Gary Hart letter that was dated in 1983 with his security advisor, Bill Holden, as the letter shows. His security advisor contacted Hart, and we had a series of meetings with all the documentation, the aircraft ID numbers, some of the stuff that Cele Castillo knew about. We did not know each other at that point in time, but we were privy to the information that was going on through Ilopango. So all this stuff was out there. The Hart letter started in 1983. Iran-Contra was not even exposed until 1986. So there was a 3-year lead time before the fact on that operation, which was in violation of the Boland Amendment. The mindset in those days was to fight communism. It was a Cold War. Cold War is now over. The younger generation doesn't even know what the Cold War was about. And so hence document. I've said on your show, I believe, Steve, that don't believe anything that, especially don't believe anything DEA tells you, and don't believe a damn thing CIA tells you, and certainly don't believe anything Tosh Plumlee tells you. Go out and check it out. And don't believe anything your mother tells you. Go check it out. Because
I want to get into dive into this. All right, okay, Enrique Camarena. Okay, he was killed in about 1985, right? And this was
right.
Iran-Contra didn't really go down, I think, until about 1990, wasn't it? Is that about right?
Iran-Contra, when Hassenfuss went down in C-123, I think that was in October of 1986, I believe it was. Yes.
6. All right, I'm 86. A little screwed up because I was...
Kiki Camarena was killed, I think, in February 1985.
Right, okay. Now, Gary Webb's story came out in what, was it, 96, I believe it was?
It was around 96, but his information dated back all the way to El Toro,
right.
You know, back in that era, which was around 1985. Marine Colonel Sabot committed suicide, which was actually, in my opinion, was a murder.
Well, we know that didn't happen.
Yeah, okay, right.
All right, just for review, though, okay, I'm trying to get up to the timeline here. I'm looking at a story. You know, when the CIA came to Los Angeles, and there was a big meet the press, meet and greet with the people, and basically the citizen, you know, the CIA. I think it was Robert Deutsch, who was the head of the CIA back in '96, and he got in front of the citizens of Los Angeles and tried to explain the CIA's involvement in this drug running into El Toro, like you said, and subsequently made its way onto the streets of Los Angeles. And this, of course, was the big meeting with Gary Webb. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is you know, you were involved in this. Clearly, you were involved in this. The people act like it's a fantasy. And yet it's right there. And now we've got a Gary Webb movie coming out here, sometime this year, called "Don't Kill the Messenger," that will be discussing the entire story, a Gary Webb story, and his exposure of the CIA. Now, Tosh, you said that you're actually featured in the movie, but they decided to.
No, I don't know. I stayed away from that movie. I hope. You know, it's not anything other than. At that point in time, there's other very sensitive matters I was involved with, and couldn't expose those matters by going and doing interviews or whatever. I've been told I'm in the movie, but anyway, I don't care one way or the other. But back to where you mentioned, okay, when Gary Webb started getting on this, he had already had a series of meetings with a Marine colonel that was stationed out of El Toro Marine Naval Air Station. That colonel later was killed. All right. Now, the meeting you're talking about when Douche came to L.A., this, now, again, reference material. I'm going to shut that off.
It's probably Phil trying to get a hold of you, huh?
It's, I don't know who it is. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. All right. Okay. Now, again, I'm referencing what I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. On CBS, the very night, when the CIA director appeared at the school, talking to the students, attempting to defuse a situation that Gary Webb had been working on, and Ricky Ross, Freeway Ricky, had exposed that he was getting cocaine, and that there was a CIA operation to contaminate the youth, the black youth, in the LA basin with the cocaine. Now, that was not a CIA operation. Maxine Waters came out, attorney that was defending Ricky Ross. We all had a meeting. I told her to her face I did not want to see a race riot started in L.A. over false information, that was not a CIA operation, that it was much bigger than that. That operation was controlled out of the White House, and it was not an operation that was designed to contaminate the children. It was an operation to support an illegal gun running operation going to the Contra, or had been going to the Contra at that time, and that operation was still ongoing, and that she and others, as well as the attorney for Ricky Ross, was going to be used as a diversion to stop the investigation. Are we there?
Yeah, go ahead, Bill. We're just trying to bring Cele in.
To stop the investigation into the acts of the cocaine. Well, then.
Yeah, hey, Cele, how you doing? Are you ready to join us?
Oh, man. I don't have my computer.
Oh, okay. Just relax. You can use your phone. It's up to you. Sorry, Bill.
Hello, Cele. We've done this all our lives, I guess, back and forth. But anyway, so don't want to get going off on that. But anyway, I was on CBS that night, on CBS News. I was interviewed where I said I didn't want to see a race riot started because of false information. Part of that interview was cut out. I think it was 3 or 4 seconds. The part that was cut out that led up to the gun running, the previous gun running and the current gun running. Now, when he appeared, I can't remember the date that he appeared out there, but anyway, Ricky Ross was getting ready to go to jail, or was tried. The attorney was doing everything that he could, and he got Maxine Waters involved, and she came out there, and we all sit down and had a talk, and I told him right face to face, I said, you're not going to like what I have to say, but you're wrong in saying that the CIA set that operation up. The evidence bin in El Toro was being broke into. Colonel James Sabot Marine Colonel James Sabot had found out about that, and he launched his own investigation, which eventually led to his murder.
Hey, I got a question, Tosh. Let me stop you right there. Okay. The planes, you were flying C-130s, is that right, into El Toro?
Yes, I was flying C-130s in El Toro.
All right, and the C-130 would carry about what? How much cocaine can you get on a C-130?
Well, you're looking about a load of about approximately 38,000, but it wasn't all cocaine. I mean, at each load there would be other equipment. There would be, military equipment, humanitarian assistance. The whole program was set up to carry Band-Aids, and humanitarian assistance was known as the HAP program. Humanitarian Assistance Program.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that when the C-130 landed on the tarmac over there at El Toro, amongst the cargo was a quantity of cocaine. I'm assuming a relatively large quantity of cocaine. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say 15 to 2,000 kilos.
Okay, all right, a good chunk. Now,
on each flight.
All right. Well, like you said, right, every flight. Now, like you said, though, these flights were being done under the pretense of some sort of an interdiction program, as if it was to study routes or something. That sounds kind of preposterous, but going along with the thinking that the people on the base and everybody involved was programmed to accept. So when this cocaine was offloaded, you're saying it was actually put into an evidence room. It was locked up as evidence.
Right. Yes, they had storage facilities there on other bases too. A lot of military bases.
The point I'm trying to make is that when the plane landed and the cocaine was offloaded, everybody had what they thought was a legitimate reason for doing this, and they were processing it and holding it as if this was some sort of a law enforcement operation, and then they act all surprised when it was disappearing from the evidence room. Is that right?
Well, that's it. It was just pilfered out of by people unknown, whatever. There's some airmen that were busted in L.A. Having cocaine, and they said that they had got it from El Toro.
Well, do you think that this is a case of plausible deniability?
Well, I don't know. But let me back up here and point out something. Prior to all this, we had six or seven undercover pilots, federal sanctioned undercover pilots. I was one of them. Our mission or objective was to penetrate the cartel's known fly routes, to penetrate and document the known gun runners, pilots, and people that were running cocaine illegally into this country. So for approximately 2 years, as the Gary Hart letter shows, we documented, made the maps, notated all the aircraft ID numbers, the pilots' names, and the pilots' names that were sanctioned. And we flew 3 operations, Penetrate, Rooster Hop, and Grasshopper. Those were later, the map was published in an article by I Ran Drugs for Uncle Sam, by Neil Matthews, the San Diego Reader, in April 1990 for a timeline. So that was released in order to protect some of us pilots that were sanctioned, because we were using some of the drug cartels' landing strips, one of them being Carl Quintero in Veracruz and other places. And John Hull's place in Costa Rica. We were using these places as shipment points, staging areas, and refueling areas. And we were documenting these on military maps. That military map was turned over to Senator Hart to get an investigation. The reason for that is they started busting some of the sanctioned pilots. Palmer with Vortex Aviation and others, which I don't want to name, privacy, and some of these guys are retired and, whatever. But, and Puderanus and the places like Paco Solo and the place of the quiet, gentle, crazy wolves. So these were all, Escobar, Luis Ochoa, Gotcha, and some of the others Carl Quintero and others in Mexico. Now, Phil Jordan, who will be on the air here in a minute with us, he can confirm some of that information because he was with the intelligence unit out of El Paso, EPIC. And his investigation run in that the DFS was being paid off by the CIA, I think, if I got this right.
Okay, the DFS, that's the Mexican equivalent of the CIA?
It's a political arm. You have the PRI, the DFS. It's like the Republicans and Democrats or whatever, Okay. To the best of my knowledge. And they had.
Okay, that's a political group, but is also a law enforcement arm of a political group?
Yeah. They have it's like a.
Sounds like a Gestapo, huh?
Well, it's different down there. You got the army, and then you got, I don't want to get into the Mexican politics. I mean, you got corruption, cartels infiltrate all of them.
Okay, well, just so we understand.
Briberies and payoffs and all that going on. Phil, Intelligence Unit, that's his expertise. I'd rather have him put that in line for you. And he'll be on here shortly. That's what got us all together. But back to what we were doing, when we started finding out that DEA was actually busting us, who were sanctioned out of the White House. A sanctioned operation, a gun running and drug running operation for the southern front of the Iran-Contra. So a lot of us guys got nervous, and we started saying, hey, wait a minute, this is turning out to be a profit deal for a select few, and suspicions about campaign contributions and blah, blah, blah. So come to find out, we were just as corrupt as the DFS was in Mexico, because the CIA was paying the DFS in order to get by so that the Army wouldn't bust the operation going to the southern front of the Iran-Contra. I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but I'm trying to stay within the timeline here.
Well, I wish we could understand better what exactly the DFS is. Any
idea
what that stands for?
Yeah, it's right now I can't. I mean,
Federal
you got PRI, you got the security force of the department or some damn thing. I can't. That's why I wanted these guys on. I mean, that's their expertise. Cele's out there. Is Cele on air?
No, not yet.
Well, see,
he's got to get in front of us.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm going back 25, 30.
No, we lose you there. We lose your connection there, Tosh.
I still got him online here.
Oh, okay. Maybe hit a mute button, perhaps. All right. Well, hopefully, Tosh, you're going to be able to get your microphone working. Oh, yeah. Looks like we did. He did drop there. He's got the bubbles going on. That's unfortunate. Okay. Sean's going to reconnect. Excellent. All right, guys. Hey, listen. I want to remind everybody, though, that we are going to be taking callers here eventually. We had the phone lines open at the last show, and but we never did get any callers. So if you guys would like to ask any questions at all, if there's anything that doesn't sound right or you would like some clarification on, please don't be afraid to call in. It's 347-688-2902. And we're still trying to get Tosh back in here, and hopefully that'll work out really soon. But let me see. We're only 32 minutes into the show. We've got about 25 minutes or so before the end of the first half, and that's when we will start taking calls. Hopefully, we're not going to continue to have problems with this connection. But I'm hoping that we can bring it up. We can work on this information from in the 80s and 90s, and we can bring it back up to today. Because ultimately, what's really important is I want to show that this foreign policy that's based on running the guns and the drugs is certainly playing a very big role in what's going on today in the Ukraine. Obviously, the Ukraine isn't much of a there's no cocaine going back and forth, but we are certainly shipping weapons in there to help arm the fascist junta that we're supporting in their battle against the ethnic Russians over there in the south and the east of the Ukraine. And of course, this has very much to do with what's going on in Syria, and of course it has very much to do with what happened in Libya. And again, the Benghazi story is a very big part of this, and we want to try to focus on that because we certainly want to bring pressure on the current administration and all of our so-called leaders that are using these criminal acts to further their political agendas. What do you think, Sean? What do you think? It looks like we lost him, huh?
Yeah, he's still online, but he's got a mobile number. Do you want me to give that a try?
Might not be a bad idea. Do you know if he hasn't been responding to the text, so I don't think we can do that. But why don't you go ahead and see what you can do?
Oh no, we got a caller coming in right now. Let's see what this is.
425. Hello, 425.
Hi. You're talking about let's see. This particular show was talking about Mexican
drug lords,
trafficking of controlled substances and weaponry from across the border to Mexico. Is this correct?
Well, actually, it's cocaine went north and weapons went south. Is that
okay? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is something I've thought about in depth since I've known. Ever since I used to live around the ghetto type areas. This got here somewhere. And it didn't originate in this form. Well, this grows in South America. This grows in Central South America. So something had to get it here. Pretty much. And so basically, I think about this. I think, well, how do our urban neighborhoods or even our suburban neighborhoods get in this condition where you get to be a certain age and you find yourself running among certain circles, you become introduced to one certain vice, and then you get into circles, by the nature of a certain vice or habit being illegal, you get introduced into an underground, When they say a gateway drug, it's because you become introduced to an underground scene, So I think about this, I think, well, how would what would be a better way for society to manage these problems? That is, if there is a desire to on the part or a political will, which there doesn't seem to be. It seems to be pretty much people want to, the darker elements want to maintain their monopoly on these sort of underground dealings going on. So what happens is that I see is that also when you're involved in what I've seen from just the news from these Fast and Furious, whatever it is, these sort of stings, also haven't been involved in kind of pushing the envelope of things they do to catch the bad guys, which are a lot of the times just as bad, if not worse, than the people.
All right, this is Brian. Brian's your name?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Brian, you're not making any. You're not being.
Well, I'm not. Okay. Well, okay. What is the topic that you originally talked about that you would quote me back where I strayed from it?
Well, I really don't. Can you kind of get to the point?
What was the topic you were talking about that I strayed from?
Well, I don't think that you were even close so far.
Well, what was it? Okay, you were talking about the guy said he was giving orders out of the White House, and they were.
All right, listen. Let me ask you this: instead of making
Yeah.
long statements, do you have a question for Bill, perhaps?
Well, I guess if I've totally missed the topic, what I heard he was talking about guns and drugs, and so yeah, did I completely? I don't know. Did I really?
Yeah, you're kind of going on circles, so we're not really.
No,
yeah.
I thought I was being pretty direct, and I thought I made my point pretty well, and I was just waiting for a comment on what I said. If you could trash it all if you want, I thought it was pretty smart. I don't feel ashamed of what I said. You can make me feel ashamed. I don't think I should be.
All right. Well, listen.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
thanks for your call. All right. I'm sorry about that, guys. I completely did not know where the heck he was trying to go with that. Sean, did you understand what he was talking about?
No.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Jeez. All right. I think he was trying to make a statement, but I'm just not sure. It just was not cohesive. If anybody else would like to join us and ask a question in, hopefully something that we can understand, please call us at 347-688-2902, or you can Skype in at Freedom Screen. And we are having some problems with our connection with Tosh, and hopefully we're going to get him back in. I don't know, Sean. What do you think? He tried calling me a little while ago, but
yeah, he's typing in the chat right now.
He's in the chat right now? Oh.
Do we have bubbles underneath him?
Yeah, I see bubbles underneath him.
Yeah, I just got a warning box sitting there, so...
Okay, he's typing in the chat. Okay, there it is. Call dropped. All right. Tosh, what are you doing? Anyway, yeah, don't call me. Call Sean. Did you, I guess you keep on trying to add him, but wow, wild night. Anyway, okay. Sorry, guys. Monkey, take a wild leap into that question, Brian. All right. Yeah, well, I'm watching chat here, and it's kind of going nuts, and I apologize to you guys for kind of losing it here. No one ever does. Yeah, all right, thank you. Anyway, well, yeah, we're struggling here to get Tosh back online, and hopefully we're going to be able to get him in here real soon because this is important. But I got to tell you guys, when we had the DEA guys on here last week, I really tried to get them to comment on their feelings towards this so-called war on drugs. Because clearly with the CIA shipping tons of cocaine into the country and under the pretense of interdiction and all this.
Okay, I'm back on, I guess.
Okay, you're back on.
I missed a lot. All right, I just got a warning to shut up that I'm releasing classified information and method and procedures.
Oh, dear.
I shouldn't have said that on air, but I'm just signaling to someone, quit messing with me. They keep knocking me off this thing. I just checked my settings. Everything's fine. All right.
Okay, so we're getting screwed with here. That's what it is? Okay.
Well, we're getting in a situation here. Someone's asking what we're talking about. We're talking about interdiction coming into this country of drugs and drug routes by sanctioned pilots that was designed to log and record the routes coming out of Central and South America into the United States. I got another little message here. You better shut up. I think
all right, Tosh, who is screwing with you right now?
Who knows? They're going to eat up all the airtime, so we can't get this out. Is Cele and Jordan available? And the gentleman you had on the line a while ago, I think he asked a question about something. I couldn't quite. I wasn't there. I'm off the air.
Well, we were trying to figure out what the heck it was that he was trying to say, but it was kind of rambling, and I don't think I could have gotten a question out of there. If he's in chat, he'd like to try to type out something brief, an actual question. We'll try to give it another chance, but unfortunately...
Well, one of the questions I think I was leading up to that I saw last year was, why didn't we come forward if we knew we were involved in an illegal operation? Well, the point is, we did come forward, and as the Gary Hart letter that I keep making reference to, which is posted on the Facebook page if anybody wants to go and read it, we did report it. However, as the Gary Hart letter states, the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Senate Armed Services Committee refused to look at the information and the documentation. Reason being, they already knew about the gun running operation going south to the freedom fighters, and that, remember, we were fighting communism. That was the Cold War in those days. Mm-hmm. So, or right after the Cold War was over, but from 83 to 89, then the Senate hearings came out, and in 91, and that's when 85 was when Kiki Camarena was a DEA agent, Drug Enforcement Administration, decorated agent, was picked up by the DFS, which is an element of the political arm of the Mexican government, which was receiving payoffs from one or two of their individuals in an official capacity, was receiving payoffs from Central Intelligence Agency or operatives from Central Intelligence Agency in order to facilitate the gun running and the drug running. So, are we still on air?
Yeah, we're still on the air. Yeah,
okay. I mean, this is crazy stuff. And I'm probably crazy, as they're telling me, I'm probably crazy for talking this. Okay, methods and procedures. Let's get into that. Marine Colonel James Sabot found out about the interdiction bin, which was being broken into, and he had a series of meetings at that early date with Gary Webb. All right. The evidence bins was broken into. Cocaine was being scattered all over South L.A. and Compton and all kinds of places. The CIA director even came out to defuse the situation that the black community was really starting, that the CIA was contaminating their young people, and they were turning it into a racial thing. Mm-hmm. I was asked to come out and go on the evening news, CBS Evening News, the same day that the CIA director was addressing the black community at a town hall meeting at a school. At the same time, Maxine Waters, that was her district, was talking to the attorney that was representing Ricky Ross, Freeway Ricky, who was a contact of Gary Webb's, who given him information about the cocaine that was filtering all over the streets of South L.A. Am I following the timeline here?
Yeah, you're going good. You're doing good.
All right. So this meeting, Marine Colonel James Sabot set up his own investigation. The Marine Corps Commandant refused to allow him to continue that investigation because it would look bad for the Marine Corps if cocaine was found on a Marine base. Now, this is documented. Some of it's still classified, and that's the warnings I'm getting. So, as a result of that, the Marine Colonel put a shotgun in his mouth and blew the back of his head out. However, in the autopsy report, there was a 2x4 that was bashed him up the side of the head before the shotgun was put in his mouth. The 2x4 was found behind a gate later in the investigation. The crime scene was tampered with. There's a story there. Anybody can go on the website and look it up. Marine Colonel James Sabot. Point being, Gary Webb got his information from the colonel of the Marine Corps Naval Air Station. They were going to bring charges on Colonel Sabot for using an aircraft illegal by sending books to his kid in college. So he's going to court-martial him. So the Marine Colonel said, okay, go ahead and court-martial me. I've got a story to tell you. And they didn't do it. They killed him instead. But it made it look like suicide. All right, now I'm getting off down here.
But, but Bill, that's an interesting point here because I think, all right, what you just said right now, I think sheds a lot of light on the thinking of what was going on because, we've already established that the cocaine was coming in there. We've established that there was a certain amount of plausible deniability and a certain amount of, I don't want to say naive, but look in the other direction. And when I think these guys really knew what was really going on, but they're following orders and doing their job. So when you say Sabot started having some issues over some unrelated nonsense, suddenly he was using this information as a tool to protect his interest. So clearly that would indicate that even though he would have been cooperating with them to some extent and swallowing the whole pretense for the entire operation, deep down he knew it was really dirty and he was keeping that information to use in the future. And when he did try to use it, they got him.
Well, he didn't. He was trying to start an investigation to find out where his airman on base was getting this cocaine because the L.A. Police Department had busted a couple of Marines from El Toro. Some of the loaders. Later, one of the loaders was found killed, run over by a car. So there's a whole other world out there that, people don't go in and look at. So point being, Gary Webb wrote a big article. He got published, and then elements within the government got to the publisher, and they did a number on Gary Webb.
Yeah, San Jose Mercury News. He was the reporter for San Jose Mercury News, right?
They embarrassed him. They destroyed his career. First tried to character assassinate him, and then when he wouldn't back off, they pressured him, as they say, until, quote, quote, he committed suicide like the colonel did. So you got a colonel committed suicide. You got Gary Webb who committed suicide. You got Buendia in Mexico who committed suicide. You've got Kiki Camarena who also found out about the gun running and the drugs coming in. He got tortured by a corrupt element of the DFS in Mexico, which Hector Berrellez can tell that story better than I can. Phil Jordan can tell that story better than I can. And Cele also, he got set up for a character assassination because he started getting the peripheral information about Santa Elena, Ilopango, and all the weapons stored in hangars down in south. So they did a number on him by character assassination. Well, that worked because he went to jail or whatever.
Well, hopefully he's going to be joining us real soon. But hey, listen, hang on, Tosh, for a second. We got a caller being very patient. 651. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Dan from Minneapolis.
Yeah, hi Dan. Do you have a question for Tosh here?
Yeah, I just got a question for Tosh, and basically a statement also. Being 44 years old, I'm also what I would consider a younger generation, and I think a lot of people my age think that this the Iran-Contra is an old piece of history that happened a few years ago, and it's over and done with. And I'd like to just reiterate the fact that a lot of these key players are still out there, and the same type of activity has been going on for years.
Well,
whether it's Benghazi or the Golden Triangle in Laos, I mean, the drug running has been coming into this country for 50 years.
Well, that's what I've been saying. I say it like this: we start a conflict, we set up a conflict, we furnish guns to both sides of that conflict, we escalate that conflict. What we have here was the whole thing is over international gun running. It's in Benghazi, the same situation that happened in Iran-Contra. People say, "Oh, that's so old hat. It doesn't mean nothing." That operation, that MO, is still going on today. It's a cash cow for a select few in politics and our administration and other administrations, past POTUSs, presidents of the United States. It's all been there. It's a secret world, a secret army. We set up an army. We fund that army through the direct commercial sales program. That's a program where a person can start a company, fill out the proper paperwork. A foreign country can do this. They can fill out the paperwork. I'm getting a little touchy here. Submit it to the State Department. And if it gets approved, then that company, through cutout, can buy U.S. weapons and ship them to foreign countries. What we do, we set up secret armies. We set up Iran-Contra, Southern Front of Iran-Contra, in violation of the Bolton Amendment. That was a secret army that operated out of Santa Elena, Costa Rica, and John Hall's Ranch in Costa Rica, and other places, Carl Quintero's Ranch out of Mexico, and other places down as far south into Colombia, the Medellin and Cali cartels. And so we went in to try to document those routes. I'm getting ahead of myself. So in answer to the gentleman's question, yes, it's still an ongoing operation. Here's a fact. Some of the boys, young men that's in their 30s and 40s, are children, grandchildren of the guys I used to fly with. So that tells you the lineage. In other words, it's the same thing. We have the Clinton clan out there. Always they're grooming a lady to become the president. That's nothing new. They groom them all. You know, so there's another world out there. There's also an organization known as the Praetorian Guard. A lot of people don't know what the Praetorian Guard is. That's a form of protecting the president and carrying out his methods and procedures. If he wants to start a war or a conflict, Praetorian Guard are right there to make sure it gets started and it gets done right. I'm rattling here. I'm going too far. I'd rather get someone else to come in here and verify what I've just said. That was the reason for this program, is to have these other DEA gentlemen to come on.
All right. Well,
so I'm not here doing all the damn rattling.
Tosh, you're doing a good job, and don't worry about it, because obviously it's important. If we can get these guys on, that's great. But at the same time, there's plenty of stuff that we can talk about.
In answer to the gentleman's question, yes, it is still going on. Benghazi, which I have a saying: the hip bone's connected to the thigh bone's connected to the leg bone's connected to the ankle bone, and on and on and on and on.
Well, Tosh, let's move in that direction. Since he wants to show the connection with Benghazi and whatnot, I mean, this is what we want to do anyway. I mean, ultimately, I want to get us up to not Yugoslavia, but the Ukraine. You know.
Well, all right. Okay.
So let's go for it.
Should I keep rattling?
Well, let's talk about Benghazi.
Then we're going to cut these other guys completely out. I'll say one thing about Benghazi.
If they show up, they show up.
If they show up, want to join, fine. We'll cut them some slack.
All right. Well, listen. Before we get there, I got to ask you a question that's in chat that's come up, and this is in relationship to I believe it was the LAPD officer that was confronting Deutsch over there in 86 or 96 during that meeting. Rupert. Yeah. Okay. Now what happened?
He committed suicide.
Oh, he did a Gary Webb, huh?
Yeah, I was going to get to him, and I got cut off.
All right, well, let's talk about Rupert.
You didn't cut me off. Someone else cut me off.
Okay, well, Rupert was a detective with the LAPD, and he was the one that got up on the microphone on TV at that town hall meeting and basically confronted the CIA director about the drugs coming into Los Angeles. And how long was it after that fateful day that he was suicided?
Well, he was just suicided recently.
Really?
Because he just a couple of months ago.
Uh-huh.
Because he was picking up again what we're talking about now.
Oh.
Okay. I'll tell you another one that was picking up, and he was a pilot, friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He was picking up what we're talking about, and he shot his kids and killed his dog, and his name was Phil Marshall.
Oh, that's right. So, we know that didn't happen.
Write them all out here. Start with, even before Sabot. There's other unknowns out there. The people that was loading the aircraft from the C-130s, when they started to talk about what they were doing on late night flights coming in to El Toro when the airport was closed, they got whacked. Car accident, strange car. Walking along, doing his jogging, doing his morning exercises, and got hit by a truck on base. Accident.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it the Dogs of War, the cleanup crew. There's a cleanup crew, bird dogging me. I know that, I mean, that's the whole reason me blabbering my mouth out here is because put a little sunshine on this and it might protect some of us boys. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I can say it any plainer than that. People ask me if I should be dead. The only reason I'm not dead is because of all the information and documentation and the secret testimony behind closed doors to the Senate and the Congress, that would all come out and all be exposed. You can't keep this stuff under wraps forever. When it starts to leak out, people get hurt. And the only way to stop it is you have to play chess with these people. And I'm not a good chess player, but I do move a pawn every now and then. And I hope that by moving that pawn, I don't put myself in a checkmate. And my method is to let this information out there to the American people, to a younger generation, for them to go investigate. Because people like me and Hector and Phil and especially Cele, we know where the skeletons are. We can point this younger generation to go get the ammunition and the documentation so that they can make wise decisions and go in and take this corruption out of our federal government and take the corruption and the ones that are trying to destroy this Constitution and take them and feed them to the wolves. And we have the means to do that if we collectively and intelligently bind together. And I'm talking about us op guys that are still alive, that are not dead yet. We have the means to do that. And I think it's my responsibility, and I think it's their responsibility to come out and tell the American people what they know
Okay.
what they were involved
All right,
with.
Tosh. Break time. We'll be right back, everybody. About 4 or 5 minutes. Stick around. We're gonna drop the server right now, Tosh, so we can try to connect the other guys. But everybody, we'll be right back in about 4 or 5 minutes. Stay with us.
I'll let things charge up here.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Do you got that number? We can take it off air now, so you don't gotta worry about disclosing it for everybody.
Oh, me?
Yeah. Go ahead and talk.
Okay. Am I off? I hit that little button there.
We're off the air. Go ahead.
Okay. Phil.Jordan207. That was the number he just gave me. It's a new Skype phone number. He had to stop and pick up a headset or something.
Phil.Jordan27?
207.
207. Okay.
All right. Cele, have you talked to Cele on?
No, he hung up with us.
Well, yeah, he was on the phone. He had to get to a computer, so if we can find his thing from last time.
Well, I've hoped. Boy, I tell you what, I'm unloading here, and I'm getting some. He says, "Wow," "Wow, Tosh." He says, "My God," he says, "What in the hell are you doing?" You know, we are not supposed to go that far. So, is that Chip? Is that from Chip?
Did Chip would say that?
No, he wouldn't say that. No, hell, Chip's gone further than I'm gone. Oh, this is so much fun, guys.
Yeah, I don't even think he has his chat window open.
Yeah, hopefully he sees the call went. There we go.
All right.
You there?
Yep.
Well, I got a ring coming in here. Let me hang up and call me back. I don't know who's calling in.
All right. Scary. What do you think, Sean? Are we having a crazy show here or what?
Yeah, I'm still trying to add Phil Jordan in. He needs to accept the contact, though.
Damn SJ's trying to push everybody over to Studio B and chat.
Yeah, he's an instigator.
What a dick, man! I swear.
He rolls them up. You don't care.
Well, you know why? It's because of that time I kicked him off the show a while back because of his his damn being a blowhard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he comes on these chats or these roundtables, and he thinks everybody wants to hear his life story. It's like it gets really old. So I haven't had him back on. So definitely he's being a dick here. Oh yeah. Doc Rima is a building biologist guest. Excellent discussion on the EMF. Yeah. Fuck SJ. Fuck you, SJ. How close are we to getting back on?
I got Justin. He's standing by watching the server. He's going to give me a warning.
All right. Look, this is not looking too good with Tosh here.
Yeah, he got a phone call, so he'll probably be right back with us.
Well, it's just phone call on the phone or phone call on Skype. It's like, what the hell is that all about? La, 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 la. Yeah, I'm trying to be patient here.
As patient as you can be with these kind of circumstances.
Sean. Yeah, Julie wants to call in. Lioness wants to call in. You have her?
Lioness. What's her name?
Julie.
Skype name?
Yeah, I just put down there in the chat down there.
Okay, yeah, I got her.
Okay.
Oh shoot! Just in time, missed the call. And all right, we're going back.
Right here for this lost cause. A day may come when the courage of men fails, but it is not this day.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy. You're going to work harder than you ever worked before.
But that's fine. We'll just get tougher with it.
A person grits his teeth and shows real determination.
Are you there?
Is not an option. That's how winning is done. Believe me when I say we can break this army here.
And win just one for the Gipper.
But I say to you, what every warrior has known since the beginning of time, you've got to get mad.
I mean plumb mad dog mad.
If you would be free men, then you must
fight to fulfill that promise. Let us cut out their living guts
1 inch at a time.
And they will know what we can do.
Let no man forget how menacing we are. We are lions.
You're like a big bear, man.
This is your time. Seize the day.
Never surrender.
Victory or death. That's the Chicago.
Who's with me?
Clap! Clap! Don't let him die! Clap!
All right, let's fly. And gentlemen in England, now abed, shall know my name is the Lord. When I tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our Independence Day.
You there?
Yeah.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. One world coming together to bring freedom home. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listeners for radio, and now we return you to your host.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the second half of the show. I have Tosh Plumlee with me. We've just been joined by Julie, a.k.a. Lioness. Before I welcome everybody back, I need to make a few announcements real quick. One, again, I want to remind everybody we are listener-supported. We do depend on your donations. And currently we are also having a fundraiser to try to buy some equipment. Basically what I'm talking about is we need to get a couple extra servers in to cover us when we have problems. And the budget for that is about, let's see, what is it? $1,200. So any extra help that you can send our way above and beyond our normal budget of $1,900, obviously Nighthawk, our station owner, will decide what goes where, but we do have a little additional funds that we need to raise this month to try to purchase more equipment to make it easier for us to stay on the line and fight the negative forces that are doing everything they can to shut us down. Huh, Tosh?
Yeah, I'm on air now.
Yes, you're on the air now, and my gosh, you guys, I swear.
Well, I don't think it's on your end. Anyway, somebody's messing. Well, anyway, we won't go into all that.
We all get messed with, but it takes a lot of work to keep the station on the air and to keep these guys from shutting us down.
Okay, somebody just sent me an email, said expect someone at your door any minute. I guess that just happened. So
that's why the dog's barking, huh?
Yeah. So anyway,
you want to answer the door, and you'll have witnesses if anything happens,
just a second.
All right, Julie, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you, Stephen, and yourself.
Oh well, it's kind of a wild night, we're having so far, but such is live radio, right?
Agreed. I'm really anxious to see who's at his door myself.
Yeah, the men in black, no doubt, huh? Jeez.
That's right.
Anyway, what do you got going on? You want to add something, or do you have a comment, anything you'd like to say?
A comment. It's more a comment of appreciation, not really a question. I just want to thank you for doing hard-hitting shows like this, and this one really touches home to me because this Iran-Contra affair and the whole gun-running, drug trade for war efforts was my very first awakening back in the, mid-'80s. Uh-huh. I was a teenager, 19, 20, 21, 22, around that age. Now here I am at 49, and here we are 30 years later, and it's like it took 30 years to actually have verification. Back in those days, there was no internet. There was nothing for us to Google or search. I know my friends and I, at the time, this is when I became politically active. We would rent out a room in the library and advertise as cheaply as we could in our local newspapers, and then give lectures and show what little movies or clips that we could find. And I just wanted to say thank you, and how this is rewarding to me, because it shows that well, we weren't crazy. I wasn't crazy back then. This stuff was really happening. And all those people that say conspiracy theorists this or that, or our government would never do this or that, you know, it's a shame that it takes 30 years for things to really become apparent to people that that don't read or don't research, that they only are spoon-fed what they're given. And so I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to Tosh and all the other gentlemen that have come forward. And I know they've been coming forward over the years. But again, I just want to say thank you, and it really means a lot to hear this from the horse's mouth, if you will.
Well, Tosh, that makes you a horse, huh?
Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate that lady. She brought up some very fine points. I've been known a horse, but I won't go into that other word. But
you're an Arabian delegate.
Okay, that's what she said, and the bed broke. Anyway, sorry about that. Oh God, it's getting late. No, that was just a friend checking to make sure I'm okay. I guess they're listening to the broadcast. You know, everybody's a little concerned. But you brought up a very good point. Back in our day, you couldn't get this information. In other words, it was snail mail. You didn't have the kind of TV coverage. You didn't have, especially the internet, where you in 5 seconds you can check anything out anyone says if you take the time to do it. And that's why a new generation can get the ammunition, like I said earlier, to go to the polls and vote these people out. In other words, I've said on your program before, Steve, that America's in a slow coup d'etat, and it's rapidly accelerating. I believe. So I try to use the Facebook as a tool, not as a gossip rag. Forums out there, I try to use those forums to educate, to bring what the lady said, that when she was a younger lady, that she was hearing these things, but there's no way to verify it.
Sorry about that. I had to send a message to Julie. Julie, everybody's complaining. They say your gain is too high on your microphone, so you sound good to me, but apparently
I don't know what gain means.
But that means you're too loud.
Oh.
Yeah, just back off your microphone or a little bit or something.
Oh, okay. How's that? Better?
Wonderful. I'm sorry, Tosh. Oh, it looks like Tosh he's bubbling. My gosh. You know, I'll tell you, we must be having a good show, because I very rarely have problems with guests like this. And I think the last time we had this much difficulty with connections, the guest was in the Ukraine, you know, in the middle of a war zone. So yeah, I would suspect that they're really getting tired of Tosh being on the show here and saying the things that he's saying. It doesn't surprise me at all. But, you know, Julie, the point that you make, and, you know, I mean, you're, what you said, 40-something, I'm 50-something. You know, we're relatively, we're considered seniors practically. And yeah, we're trying to reach out to the younger generation, the kids, if you will, the 20s, the 30s, what have you. And it's frustrating. It really is, because, you know, it's just, the information, it's so, you know, it's so hard hitting, like you say, and heavy, and yet at the same time, it's just not sinking in. And I don't get it. You know, it's almost as if people think, you know, we talk about, you know, plane loads of cocaine coming to the country and weapons going into other countries, into war zones. And I think that people they've got, if it's not billions of dollars or thousands of tons, it just doesn't register in their minds. And you know, it doesn't really matter how you feel about drugs. If you think that the whole drug war is a farce and that drugs should be legal, that's not really the issue here. The issue is that we have a government agency, or not necessarily a government agency, but groups within our so-called government that are basically saying, you know, do what we say and not what we do. They're throwing people in jail for life for doing the same exact thing that they're doing illegally. So So clearly, I think, if we really got to get people to wake up and make a stink about this and not let anyone get away with it. All right, Tosh, you're back with us. I see your camera's on. We're getting a little bit of echo from you.
Yeah, Tosh, if you turn off the camera, it'll help you with your bandwidth.
Okay, well, yeah, I didn't. Okay.
Nobody can see you, Tosh. Just us. Putting your hand in front of the.
Hey, I tell you what, we got people's messing with my connections here. Is it possible you guys can call me on the cell phone, and we'll try to finish this thing on the cell?
Yeah, sure thing.
All right,
I
Sean,
think that might be better. I'm getting ready. Somebody's playing hacking crap. Am I on air?
Yes, you are on air, but crap is not a bad word. So.
Back to that lady. I don't know where I got cut off at, but
is that your hand in front of the camera?
My hand?
Yeah. What do you got something in front of the camera there?
Oh.
Yeah. That's your palm of your hand in front of the camera, isn't it?
Going to the bathroom.
Yeah. I swear. All right.
If you can't have fun with yourself, who are you going to have fun with? I don't know how to turn the damn thing off.
All right.
There's a little camera button underneath the images.
Yeah, probably next to where the little microphone icon is, there should be a little camera icon.
There we go. Got it. All right. Okay. Well, we'll see how it does if it goes off again. But anyway, the lady was on, if she can hear.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay. Lady, what's your name?
Julie.
Play around, Judy. Okay. It's a long, long day. But anyway, we don't have the rapid communication that we had back in that day. And so now people can go, and in 5 seconds they can find out anything they want to know, whatever I tell them. If we point them to documents, they can have them. Some of the documents back in those days, the allegations, as it was called back then, it would take weeks and months by snail mail to get confirmations, even if you could get them. You'd have to go sue through Freedom of Information. In some cases, what Cele and what I and what Jordan, Phil was, and Hector were talking about, and I made reference to Phil Marshall, could not be confirmed in those days because it was classified. And we were threatened, disclosure statements, which the military is signing right now on certain issues. But we had to sign disclosure statements that we would not divulge these kind of things, and if we did, we'd be in violation of a national security statute and all that good stuff. So, are we there?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay, so anyway, now, like you said, after 30 years, all this stuff has been confirmed to anybody that would take the time to go out and go to the places that the operatives that run those operations or were involved in those operations, and the pilots that flew those operations, they can go and confirm what we've said for 30 years. We didn't talk about those things too much back in those days until our own government started putting charges on us sanctioned pilots for running drugs into this country. The reason that they did that was to protect their own skin, because some of us were beginning to expose an international gun running operation. For instance, I'll use an example. Edward P. Wilson was running guns and tow missiles and everything to Gaddafi in Libya. Some of those things have now showed up in Benghazi and Tripoli and Jordan and Qatar and Pakistan. Now that brings it current. Some of those weapons were found in Mexico in Juarez from international gun running from the direct commercial sales program. Now that's why they keep blocking me. I'm not supposed to talk about that. Probably off the air right now.
All right, say that again. What is the name of that? The
direct commercial sales program, which is supposed to be monitored by our Senate and Congress and the State Department. The Blue Lantern Report. Whoever right now can use the technology that is so rapid, that the lady pointed out, can use it and run it up there. Look up direct commercial sales program, Blue Lantern Report, and you'll find out what it is. It's a legal operation for us to ship guns to foreign countries if they fill out the proper paperwork. Those guns are taken out of our arsenal, the way it was in Iran-Contra and before Iran-Contra. all the way back to Libya, Gaddafi, Edward P. Wilson, use all these key words in an internet that you can find today and find out what I'm talking about and get the necessary documents to prove what Cele has been saying on his powder burn site and what Phil Jordan has been saying about the DFS in Mexico receiving payoffs from the CIA in order to protect the gun running operation. Are we there or am I off?
You're on.
Okay. Well, are just you and I on or anybody else out there? What's your name, sweetheart?
Julie, and I think we're all on.
Okay, all right. So I'm rattling here, but anyway, so that's it. Run those names through, and then you know what I'm talking about. So diversions are created. Fast and Furious was nothing more than a diversion to take away an investigation into illegal gun running that was going to the Middle East.
Hey, hang on. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tosh. Listen, Sean, Phil Jordan just called me, and he's standing by right now if you want to try to bring him in.
Okay.
All right. Now, I've just asked him to accept, but I've listed his cell phone number down there. It's the Arizona, the 602. So Sean, if you could take care of that for me, great. All right, thank you. Hang on, Tosh. Listen, 605 area code joined us also. I need to welcome 605. What is your name?
It's 650. I'm Ted.
I'm sorry, 650 Ted. Ted, go ahead. You've been very patient. You have a question?
Yeah, I'm a friend of Tosh's on Facebook.
Okay.
And I just wanted to correct something, or what I think is a mistake. He mentioned a couple of names in connection to suicides or being suicided. He mentioned Manuel Buendia, who he was murdered in Mexico in 1984. I don't know why Tosh said he committed suicide, because he certainly didn't.
No, you're right. No, I did not mean to imply that he was committed suicide. I was trying to point out the number of people's actually death. The ones that committed suicide I named. Buendia was killed in 85, around the same time that Kiki Camarena was abducted.
Correct.
And so we had meetings with Kiki in Phoenix, Arizona at the Oaxaca Cafe about 4 months before he was kidnapped by the DFS. And when Phil comes on, I'd like Phil to explain the connection between the DFS and the CIA. That is a very important, if he will do that. Now, he may be gagged. I don't know. But if he joins us, then that, but anyway, you're right. You're right. Yeah, Bendoya was a reporter, and he was getting ready and had been reporting on a series of corruption between the two countries on basically gun running and drug running. It seems like you're pretty well up on that. So am I right?
Yeah, you are. But I wasn't. I mean, I was just starting to. I mean, I'm not that familiar with the Buendia case. I mean, I was following it somewhat. But
in fact, if you go to my Facebook page, you will see the Class 2 DEA document that mentions Buendia and his death and the reason behind his death.
Yes, so, you posted that today, right?
I posted that today because I knew that we were going to be doing this interview and people are going to be saying, "Where in the heck's your documentation?" So I tried to. Yeah, go.
Can I switch to Rupert for a minute?
Sure.
Because I've been following that situation really closely, and there's really no doubt in my mind and the mind of many people who were close to him or were in contact with him that he did in fact commit suicide. And I think both in his case and in Gary Webb's case, that's the tragedy of it. Why did these people feel so put out, and that no one was listening? They couldn't. Gary Webb's case, he could no longer carry out his career. Why did they feel so tortured to take such a drastic step?
All right. Can I attempt to answer that question for you?
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever seen a movie called The Man Who Stared at Goats?
No, I've heard of it.
All right. Take a look at it, and that'll answer your question. So what I'll do, a brief summation. There is a program out there that was launched way back in 1959. It was training called illusionary warfare training. It was a PSYOPs operation, and it was to psychologically profile and chemically induce various things and then hypnotically psyops to make people do crazy things. That was the beginning of LSD. And are we there? Am I still on air?
Yeah, you're on air. We're kind of struggling to get Phil connected still.
Okay. So my feeling about this, Phil Jordan, Gary Webb, not Buendia. Buendia was picked up by his own people and he was massacred or, killed because he was exposing various things in Mexico. Kiki Camarena, was also tortured and murdered because he was finding out about things. The other people that we mentioned here that allegedly committed suicide, Colonel Sabot, he was not under hallucinatory drugs. Gary Webb, I'm not sure, but over the time, you can be profiled to do crazy things to yourself. A good example of that is the drug that we have today, pharmaceuticals, to make some of these dang people go nuts. Xanax is one of them. I mean, I don't want to get off on those issues about pharmaceuticals and all that and so on like that, but it seems like when people get off their meds this day, they're programmed to do crazy things. Whether they're programmed by society, whether they're programmed by people and peers that they don't respect, or they feel threatened, whatever their reasons, where they want attention, where they're starved for affection, whatever it is, they go out and attack society. We have a slang saying, well, they got off their meds. The meds being supposed to keep them from doing that. In reality, in my opinion, the meds make them do it. So here's Gary Webb, very depressed, possibly pushed into depressions by the people he worked for and the gatekeepers in the industry, the media, that are designed and their objective and they're designed to do nothing but that, to make you go nuts. In other words, pressure, or whatever, and I'm rambling, so I'm going to shut up. But anyway, I think you got my message there. So
now you mentioned Phil Jordan. I thought Phil Jordan, you said as being dead. Is he waiting on the line to come on, or are there two Jordans that are related?
Phil Jordan.
You're talking about the shooter, Jordan Elmer. That's the guy that was in Guns and Ammo for years and years. Is that who you're talking about?
No,
I know you're not, Tosh.
We're
but
talking
I thought
about Phil Jordan is
we're talking about Phil Jordan. I think he was talking about a medal.
Phil Marshall.
Oh, okay, got you.
Phil Marshall. See, you got a name flipped around here. Phil Jordan was in charge of the El Paso Intelligence Center, and his mainstay was the Juarez area, and he was privy through intelligence to know everything that we're talking about. Okay, Phil Marshall was the person that shot his dog, shot his kids, and killed himself. Phil Marshall was a pilot friend of mine. All right. Cele Castillo, Rupert went, whether he committed suicide or was driven to commit suicide is a question that I don't think we'll ever be able to answer. Gary Webb, the same way. I don't think we'll ever be able to answer the question of how he shot himself twice in the head with a 9mm. I'm not sure about that.
I thought that was a 45.
Well, it could have been a 45. I'm 9mm and 45. Hell, either one of them big enough to do a little bit of damage, so maybe I made a mistake. I mean, it might have been a damn submachine gun. Who knows,
Shotgun, yeah.
Well, we had a case like that back in Johnson's day where a guy shot himself with a shotgun 4 times. It was suicide. So, I mean, anything can happen. And so my point being, in answer to your question, hopefully, is that I think these guys were psychologically driven to do this by putting themselves in depression, by prescribing certain medications to them, and then, whether it be psychedelic or whatever it might be. So anyway, that's the reason I made reference to the men who stared at the goats. If you get that on the deal, and then, after you get through reading or seeing the movie and reading the book, it would be good to go to the after pages and then you'll get the documentation that makes reference to what I'm saying about training going far back to Nags Head, North Carolina in 1959. So illusionary warfare is where you go out and you set up illusions and you make people do crazy things in order to destroy their capabilities, or especially their intelligence network. If you can destroy the communications, like what's happening around here right now, you can control the people. If you can control the money, you can enslave the people. And that's in my reference to the coup that's going on in this country right now. Am I still on air?
Yeah. Hey, Tosh, you made reference to, again, could you give us the name of that organization that was the group that was responsible for the controlling the guns? What is that again?
The Direct Commercial Sales Program.
Okay, great. The Direct Commercial Sales Program. Now,
and Blue Lantern,
I want to focus on that for a second.
Okay, Blue Lantern Report. There's two there. Blue Lantern Report monitors the Direct Commercial Sales Program.
Okay, the Direct Commercial Sales Program. Now, this is apparently. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a major budget discrepancy here recently in the tune of trillions or billions of dollars or something like that?
Well, there's two classified reports out there that one of them's been declassified the way I understand it. But anyway, there's 1.3 trillion and 16 billion in weapons. I think now I may be wrong. I may be off here a little bit. Anyway, I'm recalling from memory 16 billion in the last 5 years missing in the arsenal. 1.3 trillion has been dispatched to foreign countries in the last 20 years. And that doesn't account for the guns that were missing from Edward P. Wilson's operation that went to Libya. And those were TOW missiles and Stinger missiles. And that's also what led up to the October surprise that sabotaged Carter's administration. So
okay, so this is an ongoing program. This has been going on for.
It's like I say, you have a successful program started in 1950 when we were running guns to a little known guy. They used to call him Castroil before he became popular. His name is Fidel Castro. I had coffee with his brother in the mountains in the Sierra Madre when we had an aircraft failure, and they got me off the island, and that's documented. And at the same time, we were covertly running guns to Castro, according to the American Treaty or the Pan American Treaty. We were also, by law, had to furnish Batista tanks, planes, and ammunition. So we were supplying Batista the arms to fight Castro, and covertly we were supplying Castro arms to overthrow Batista. So in that respect, we were playing both sides against the middle.
Do you see any logic? If you had to try to look at the motives, what would you say the motive for that was?
Money.
Money, that's it. Just pure greed. Basic greed. Okay.
That was the beginning of the infiltration into our ranks, and that money through cutout companies and private corporations and whatever, and inside trading on stocks led back to campaign contributions to elect certain people into our political structure that were working for cutout companies and special interest. So that was the beginning of the coup, America's slow coup that I make reference to. In other words, our apathy of the American people let these people into power. They were incompetent, and they only had one thing, is to raise campaign contributions so that they could, flatter their ego, but they certainly wasn't honoring the oath that they took to protect the Constitution of the United States. And that's why I'm doing this. I want my country back, and I think the only way that we can get this country back is to expose all the atrocities dating all the way back to the Cuban era and show that this international gun running has been a cash cow for a select few in Washington, D.C. for over 50 years now.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's certainly a hard picture to paint. And
you want to get into Benghazi?
I'd like to. I really want to try. Yeah, Benghazi is important.
I don't know where we're at with the rest of the crew. They didn't show up.
Yeah,
hell, I'm flying blind here, man. My cargo kicker bailed out on me. My co-pilot, he just crapped in flushed down the tubes, I guess. I don't know.
I know they're out there. But.
And I've got an instrument approach coming up here, and I've got one engine out. My gear don't come down, and I guess I can work it out.
No stress. No stress.
No, we don't stress out. I mean, hell, been there before.
Well, looks like we're down to about roughly 25 minutes or so left in the show. Hopefully, we can get them in here still.
Oh, you ain't gonna get them in there.
Well, they're probably out there just listening to us. Now.
I know. I got a saying. DEA couldn't find their butt with both hands.
Oh, come on now. You're going to challenge it. Now they're going to be in here for sure. All right. If anybody else wants to join us again, the call-in number is 347-688-2902. And if you want to join us via Skype, it's Freedom Screen.
As soon as we get talking about some serious stuff, I'm going to go off the air again. You watch it happen.
Yeah. See, I know that's your problem. They're getting you, but this gives me a good opportunity to plug the station again real quick, because this is why we spend so much money on servers and equipment, so that we can combat these efforts to shut us down, because certainly those guys have got all the resources in the world to combat a little persnickety outfit like Revolution Radio.
Well, I don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and that's why I could get knocked off the air. So,
well,
anyway,
they haven't come after me yet. But anyone else have any questions? Julie, you got
Julie?
anything?
You there, Julie, or should give up?
No, I'm still here. Well, you know what? Without bringing it forward, I'd like to go back just for a second, because I do have some questions about way back when. You guys were talking about, Tosh, you were talking about what's the one in San Diego? Is that El Toro?
El Toro, yeah.
That's Irvine. El Toro's Irvine.
Irvine, okay. What do you know about Palmdale, Plant 42?
Well, Plant 42, you're talking about 4 Aces Aviation.
Plant 42 is
Hey, hang on, Julie. Let me find out who this is that just joined us. This might be Phil. Is that Phil 641? Is that you, Phil?
No, this is John out of Agency, Iowa.
All right, John. Yeah, bear with us just a moment. Julie, go ahead and finish.
Sounds good.
Well, my question was, I had some suspicion that things were going on out there at Air Force Plant 42. It's in Palmdale. They were doing the B-1B at the time.
Okay. I know about. Yeah, I know, Julie. I know a little bit about Palmdale. There's a place called 4 Aces Aviation. What you're talking about the B-1? Yeah, they made component parts for the at that time the secret B-1. They also did some work on their original U-2 that Gary Powers flew in there. That was Palmdale hangar number 42. The suspicion behind that place there, they also did retrofitting for guns that came out of Central America as well as China Lakes. Those weapons, I should say, were into those areas, and some of them were being retrofitted. The biggest secret behind 42 was Site 51, and that was with the Skunks projects, and they had.
Okay, right across the street. Uh-oh.
Did we lose Tosh? Oh, my gosh. Every time he starts talking about something.
I worked out there at the time, and it's my belief that things were flying in and out of there at the time as well under, no regulations, obviously, things flying in and out. Mm-hmm. And so I wondered if you knew anything about that.
Well, hopefully we're going to be able to bring him back in. But while we're waiting to try to get reconnected to Tosh, I want to bring in that guy that just joined us here. 641. What was your name again?
John out of Iowa.
John out of Iowa. We're going to try to bring Tosh back in, but is there something you want to say, or you have a question or something?
I was just kind of wondering. We've been following this since from anywhere from back to Castro up to Benghazi, and over into Syria. Well, Turkey from Syria. You got him back?
Yeah, Tosh is back. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. I really apologize.
Hang on, Tosh. We got another caller here that's asking us a question, so hang in there just a second, Tosh. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, I was just wondering, we followed this from Castro over down to South America, over to Benghazi, and this went from Benghazi now over into Turkey, which now we're, arming the Syrian rebels or Al-Qaeda fighting against Assad. Well, now Russia is also arming Assad, and then we have a coup that got started in Ukraine. And it's all kind of pointing back to us starting these conflicts around the world. And I just kind of want to get your take on where you see everything falling into place from here throughout the world, even into China and into the South China Sea.
Wow. Okay. It looks like Tosh is bubbling again. He may have dropped out during your question, but that is quite a question. I'm going to speculate until we get him back in here. Okay. Certainly, all of this is related as far as Benghazi, and we've been discussing the connection with Ukraine. In fact, we had a show just a couple of weeks ago where we had some people from Crimea actually saying that they witnessed junta soldiers or junta fascist, whatever you want to call them, thugs, using NATO-supplied weapons. So obviously these NATO-supplied weapons, these are coming out of this fund or this supply that Tosh is referencing that has been available since back in the days of Batista. But as far as what's going on in China, like you mentioned, the South China Sea and all the drama over there, I don't believe that our gun running and drug operations are going on over there like, say, they were back in the times of Vietnam. Obviously there was a lot of that going on with Vietnam, but now a lot of that I think has shifted to Afghanistan. At least as far as all the heroin is concerned, you don't really hear so much about the Golden Triangle these days. Yeah. I'm sure they're still producing the heroin, but I don't think that we are actively arming rebels over there, unless, he may know something that I don't know, but if you look at that area, what are the hot spots? There's the Moro rebels over there in the Philippines. They are certainly Muslim insurgents. I don't know if we're involved in that. We can certainly ask Tosh that. Hey, Julie, what's that noise? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just the whole, it's kind of like a great big spider web. It's all around the world. And all these insiders that know more insiders. That's kind of starting to connect all the big dots to where what's really starting to pop off.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, we're certainly trying to do that.
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of wild. There's been so much interference with the phones tonight because obviously you guys are ringing somebody's bell somewhere.
Yeah,
which,
clearly.
Which is most definitely is what needs to be done. There needs to be more people come out and speak about the truth of what's really behind what's going on, and to touch base and like literally like Tosh said, inform the younger generation of what's been going on since probably, during World War I and World War II, the Rothschilds were funding both sides of the wars. All the way from World War I and World War II, even wars that predated that. Money buys power, and power buys money.
Yeah, very true. But I agree. It's extremely frustrating to try to get everybody, too clued in. Oh, we got Tosh back.
Okay, so let's go ahead and throw it back to him.
Okay, all right. Listen, this is probably on my end. Every time, if you notice, I want to answer Julie's question real fast before they knock me off again. Site the 42 that you're talking about was doing component parts for U2 out of Site 51. Also retrofitting guns that were coming up from South America. One of the places there was known as Four Aces Aviation, run by a fellow by the name of Dodd. Can be documented. Now you can use the internet to find that. Okay, Julie, I hope I did answer your question there about Site 42.
We got another question here
about Hangar 42 and Palmdale.
Hang on, Tosh. Okay.
Thank you, Tosh.
641. Your question regarding the South China Sea. Can you reiterate that real quick?
Everything's sprung from South America over to Benghazi, from Benghazi over to Turkey, to where we're funding the Syrian rebels, and then Russia's funding Assad. It's kind of where do the Chinese fall into this global picture, and then the South China Sea, and who are we funding over there in that area? If you have that information.
International gun running. Okay, we're going to stick with that, and I'm having to talk real fast because I know damn well they're going to throw me off the air here again any minute. Okay, we set up secret armies. We fund secret armies by the weapons going through the direct commercial sales program legally. We transport those weapons to foreign countries, put them in CIA safe houses run by private contractors. That was the case in Benghazi when Jordan, Qatar, Pakistan, and Turkey, all the weapons that were coming out of there at that particular time were going to be stashed in those places. there was a section there that was moved around Tripoli by the Navy SEALs into an annex building there in Benghazi. Senator Stevens knew all about that operation. He was sent there to monitor the direct commercial sales program to make sure that those weapons were not being pilfered into radical hands. However, he found out about Stinger missiles being missing. He sent dispatches back to the State Department. State Department refused to act upon it. Later, when he complained about the missiles being, it wasn't all the weapons. He knew about the weapons. He was there to monitor those weapons. That was what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to, when we do these things, we're supposed to monitor them.
Well, Tosh, the question though, is, did you know of any connection to what's all of this that's going on in Asia?
All right. Now, like I said earlier, we set up a secret army. We fund that secret army. We supply that secret army with bells and whistles. And it's covert. For instance, let's go take it to Ukraine. Right now, we currently have been shipping weapons to Ukraine. We've been shipping Russian-made uniforms to the Ukraine. I've got this direct. I was on a Skype call yesterday directly from someone that is on the ground on a NATO force in the Ukraine, finding Russian uniforms, American-made weapons. We're funding and setting up a secret army to do whatever needs to be done, according to this administration, over there. We also did the same thing that led to the killing of of an ambassador in Benghazi. I'll tell you, I'm going to go one more step here before I get thrown off the air again.
Yeah, but Bill, let's forget about Benghazi right now. The question is specifically, is any of this going on in Asia, specifically South China Sea?
Yes.
Can you give us an example?
All this is going, okay, well, but literally with what all's going on currently, you can technically say this is the very beginnings of World War III. I would like to quote out Albert Einstein on that. He said, "I know what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." And I very personally believe, if the SHTF hits the fan, it's going to be a global thermal nuclear war. And that's quite frankly honest, that's scary as hell.
Prophecy is going to be fulfilled. I mean, we've had a lot of great thinkers, and I mean, if anybody wants to sit down there and get away from the TV long enough to really get into their head and think, they can figure it out just like you did. About what's going on over there, the Chinese. I mean, if you notice, there's alliances being made. The checkers or the chessboard is changing right now. We're headed for war. We are a warmongering nation. And it's based,
species.
Well, that's right, species. You're absolutely right. And it's based on weapons. In other words, since caveman, picked up the first rock. They kept improving that rock until we have what we have today. So, that's just the way this species, as you pointed out, acts. Now, in reference to, right now we got Korea. We got war games. We've had war games, and there's more war games. And there's
exchanges of fire with the DMZ also.
Okay, this is
naval.
This is testing weapons. In other words, we tested weapons in the Panamanian War. It was the thing with Noriega over drugs. We end up testing if you go back and look at the type weapons that was tested, you'll see that these weapons are on everyday use with every private in his hands today. It wasn't like that in those days. But anyway, I'm getting off subject. But in answer to the question about Benghazi, the Navy SEALs that brought those weapons around the Horn and stored them in the annex, they all crashed in a helicopter with a failed tail rotor. Does anybody out there know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir, I do. Failed
all right.
tail rotor out of the back end of a helicopter.
Right. Okay. How come that tail rotor and that pilot is highly trained out of Fort Rucker, Alabama, and he can certainly handle a tail rotor failure in auto rotation because he was at high enough altitude to be able to pull that off. However, when the crash, something that they didn't report is that the tail rotor had residue of the same type of explosive material that is found in a Stinger missile. The very thing that the ambassador was complaining about to the State Department, that the radicals got a hold of the Stinger missiles from the annex. Those weapons were being stored at the CIA annex. Am I making sense to anyone out there?
Makes absolute positive sense.
Yes.
So any Marine or any Army guy or any Air Force guy that served over there, and especially the recovery team that went over there, the first thing that their field report says, which is, by the way, classified, and I'm getting ready to get knocked off the air for saying this, talks about it was hit by a missile. Now, the tail rotor assembly was knocked out by a missile. In other words, it wasn't that he could go into auto rotation. The tail rotor assembly was knocked off. The weight and balance of the aircraft caused it to flip over on its side, and it crashed dead end. Killed them all. Now, killed them all.
Would these have been the same Navy SEAL operators that were with SEAL Team 6 that went and actually raided the Bin Laden compound? Because there was also a chopper that was shot down with a bunch of them in it.
The same people.
Same people.
The whole people. All of there's a total of 6 or 12 people that were all tied in with this weapon movement out of Qatar, out of Jordan, and out of Turkey. And I'm talking way out of school right now. I'm talking classified stuff. And now I know they're listening in on this, or they wouldn't be trying to block me right now. The reason I'm doing this, I want my country back, and I want these crooks out of office. They're incompetent.
I want the same thing.
They're incompetent.
What I say you cut the head off the snake, and if you take the head off the snake, you take the head off of everything else for what they're trying to pull in this world. And I mean, I strongly agree. I want the republic back to what it stands for. The Constitution.
We've got 1,000 snakes to stomp out, and it's going to take a full load of good American citizens to do it. And we're going to have a very sharp sword.
Lots of rope.
Lots of rope.
Lots
but
of
anyway, I'm not radical. I'm not conspiratorial. I don't get involved in politics. What I know is from years of associating with the very guys that carry these missions out. And in this case, like I said earlier on the program, some of these young men that are serving over in Benghazi and in Pakistan and in Afghanistan are the sons and daughters of some of the guys I used to fly with on these weapon transfers. I find that a little strange because, again, the hip bone connected to the leg bone and all the way on up. Now, we're talking about Benghazi, and we're talking about now the Ukraine. If you look at the MO, the method of operation, you'll see the same thread from Benghazi all the way back to Cuba. I have a saying, Cuba, Kennedy, Contra, and beyond. It is now Cuba, Kennedy, Contra, Mexico, Benghazi, and beyond.
Damascus.
Now, look at the MO. Now, they say follow the money. You can't follow the money till you find out all the cutout companies, because there's no way that you're going to trace a dollar bill, because these people are pretty damn smart. This is an international. This is a world order. I mean, and I don't get into the trilateral and conspiracy stuff and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking fact stuff here. And anybody that wants to sit here and argue with me, I don't argue. All I'm trying to do is point people to the necessary documentation and let them come and read it and come to their own conclusions. Now, you ask a very, very important question. Okay, there's 11 Benghazi questions that over 500 letters have been sent out to people, senators and congressmen. Most of the time, the only response they get back is a 2-page letter, but not one of those questions have been answered. And those questions have been up since September. Actually, before September, but on my
bought and paid for.
Well, yeah, okay, but see, everybody can define what our problems are in this country, but I've yet to hear any firm solutions of how we're going to correct it. And the only way, in my opinion, that we can correct it is educate the young people about the history and the atrocities that these NIAP people and our elected officials have perpetrated upon the American people. And here's another thing. The reason they're there is because of our apathy and our refusing to study their records and keep them in office. I would like one question. How can a man that doesn't have a pot to piss in 1 year and he can get into politics and he can become a congressman and a sitting senator, and within 10 years he's a multimillionaire. Within 20 years he's a billionaire. Within 25 years he's a multi-billionaire. Now, would that be off inside trading? I don't know.
And that'd be the top 1% of who runs the country.
Okay, so
you have the power.
So are they going to investigate themselves? In other words, are they going to go out here and investigate themselves and find out about international gun running?
And basically throw themselves in prison.
when they
probably
know
not. I'm going to
when they know that money is being filtered back into their campaign contributions from gun sales, and our troops are facing those guns. I mean, good gosh! I mean, where in the hell are the American people? I say one thing. There was a time in this country, if you dropped the American flag on the ground, a Marine would kick your ass. You know what I'm saying? Now, you don't have that today. We had all those guys. I mean, here we are, Normandy tomorrow. Is that right? You know, boy, we got big, celebrating all that. How many men died? What did they go over there for? They went over there to save their country, to make sure.
They went to fight fascism. Here we are giving fascism money and supporting it. So
there you are, and we're letting it happen. So there's a
Speaking of that, tomorrow there's going to be a 93-year-old man that's going to jump in Normandy again that was there and jumped during the war in World War II.
God bless him. God bless him.
93 years old, full battle gear, Thompson and everything they went with.
That's scary.
I'd love to jump with him.
Well, I sure hope he's got some strong ankles.
Right there, that's true patriotism right there.
Well, we don't have that in this country anymore. We don't breed it. We breed corruption.
Hey, guys, we're getting down to the last, what do we got, about 6 minutes left, Sean? Roughly?
Yeah, we got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes? Okay, I got to kind of jump in here.
Get off the phone.
Well, I'm sorry, I gobbled up all your time.
If we most definitely do not hang together, we most assuredly will hang separate.
All right, thanks for that, caller.
Jefferson, 1776. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you. All right, I got to take over here, Tosh. Oh, we just added somebody else here. Okay, 281, real quick. We're getting down to the end of the show. What would you like to? Oh, we didn't. 281, are you still there?
Just listening. Just
okay.
found it. Sorry.
All right. Well, at least tell us your name.
Pat.
Okay, Pat. Thanks for joining us. Okay, listen, because we are getting down to the end, before I hear music, I just want to say a few things. I want to thank you, Sean, for getting us through this crazy night. Tosh, of course, it's been a pleasure. Julie, thank you for being here, and to our callers, thank you for joining us and helping us tonight. Obviously, we appreciate all of the callers. And again, I want to remind everybody that we are listener-supported station. We do need your support. We do need we are collecting some extra funds this month for trying to get some more servers and try to beef up our technical abilities. So your donations are very, very important, and if you want to help us to stay on the air and continue to bring hard-hitting guests like Tosh here, please think about it. And I also want to remind everybody, mainstream media is dying. People are not watching TV news and these programs. And it turns out that the only people that are still watching television news programs are senior citizens, people who are, the average age of 80 or something of this nature. So clearly, that can't continue. And what is the alternative? Stations like what we're doing right here. I'll tell you, last week we had a show. We only did a couple 100,000 people listening, and I know darn well that we have a lot more listeners than that. So we are touching a nerve. We are certainly doing a good job, and I'm very thankful that we have guys willing to come forward and stick their necks out. So I hope you all listening realize that we aren't getting paid for this. We are patriots. We are doing everything we can to salvage this country and to fight evil, and we're risking our lives for all of you and for this country. And so I hope everybody understands that, and I hope that we've influenced you and given you a inspiration to be courageous, to go out there, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to everybody, spread the word, and help wake people up and bring more people into the fold. And of course, if you can tell people to listen into our channel, that would also be very helpful. All right, we're getting down there. Tosh, final words before we hang up here.
Well, I want to thank everybody for putting up with me hogging your program. So I just hope we had something important to say, and I just hope that this younger generation, maybe I shouldn't refer to it as younger generation, but anyway, that's all I got to say.
That's
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank you, Tosh. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, all the listeners. Thank you, everybody in the chat. It was a great show, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Again, thank you. Tune in next week. We'll see you very soon. Adios. Good night. God bless.